Hello and welcome to week 5. I want to start off by apologizing for not having done a welcome video for week 4, but all last week I was at the Association for Educational Communications and Technology, AECT, their annual conference. I had 3 presentations at the conference and also some governance meetings because I am the outgoing president of the association's division of distance learning. Now I am immediate past president and I have lots less to do. So last week was a busy week for me. It was for a number of you as well. And I appreciate your flexibility with me. And I promise that I will reciprocate that flexibility with you in crunch times as well. So what are we heading toward? Well, right now we're going into things like hypothesis testing, and type 1 and type 2 errors, confidence intervals, statistical power, and then statistical significance between groups. Well, all of these sound a lot more complex than they really are. You're probably familiar with hypotheses, which really are educated guesses. If I'm going to do a bit of research, I think that it's going to happen this way. I think that if I do this, I will expect to see this. And so I put a hypothesis. If you do something like this, I expect a change. Or what's called a null hypothesis. If I do this, the null hypothesis is that there won't be any difference between that and just a normal group. And so when we do experiments, especially quantitative-based experiments with numbers, we're looking to test hypotheses and whether those hypotheses will be supported or not supported. And in science, we really don't deal with proof. If you look at real science and real scientists, they don't talk about proving stuff. They talk about either finding supporting data that supports the hypothesis, or data that allows them to reject a hypothesis. And that's what we're going to be doing, because we never know 100%. That's why we have confidence intervals and why we learn about type 1 and type 2 errors. The first is, are we rejecting a hypothesis, excuse me, that we really shouldn't? Or 2, are we accepting a hypothesis that we really shouldn't? Should we reject yes or should we reject no? If you make a mistake on either end, that is a type 1 or a type 2 error. And so when we do most experiments, we think we have a 95% amount of confidence that this is how it's going to work. Or in some, we have a 99% confidence that this is how things will work. And so you'll learn about all of those types of things and about the power in type 1 and type 2 errors and all. And then we're going to go into significance and whether 2 groups are different than each other. And we use t-tests and we use analysis of variance basically to determine whether 2 groups are more alike or more different than each other. And that becomes very important when we start doing research for either business management or in education. We often want to know whether an intervention works. And the way that we do that is we give the intervention to one group and we don't to another group, and then we test the 2 and see whether the 2 are significant. And we'll get into that a lot more in detail later. But again, I hope that you're becoming more familiar with the interface of SPSS as you're doing these assignments. I'm less concerned that you become perfect at statistics and more concerned that you understand what's going on and that there are different tests that test for different things and that the calculations are done by and large by the software. Now in the book it shows you what those calculations are, and I will not have you make those calculations by hand, even though I had to in my program. I'm not going to make you do that because that's what we have SPSS for. And so I look forward to interacting with you this week, and I'll see you in cyberspace.